Hello, everyone. John Maddox here. Um, so, it's the end of week 3 here. John Maddox is, continuing to, move forward to do this 800-pound deadlift. As I mentioned in my last video, we do have a meet set up now. It's actually on July 20th down in I believe it's West Lafayette, Ohio. So it's about 4 hours for me, which is perfect. And I like how the weigh-ins work for the APF. You get to go down and weigh in either in the morning, the day before, or 7 o'clock. So I'm going to catch a 7 o'clock one the night before. Make sure I have all my food cooked before I go down there. I don't want to be, trying to search for restaurants or anything like that. So, but I feel I'm ready. So it's exciting for me to actually get a chance to do a meet because I've not done a meet since I've turned the age of 50. Because my injury happened probably, I think it's somewhere between 6 to 9 months, but I initially injured my tricep, which I thought initially because of how the injury handled with weight, I thought it was actually just inflammation. I didn't realize it was a tear to the tricep. I just thought it was just something from, repetitively doing heavy weights, gave it a break, only to later find out that it actually was torn. It was actually torn pretty bad. But it was still attached, so it was really crazy. So even though it was torn and it was badly torn, some of it was still attached, which still allowed me to have quite a bit of mobility on some things. So, but anyways, that's in the past, right? So I got that surgery done in 2021 plus 2 others. Then I got the injury early 2022, which I'm still dealing with to this day in the hip. Some days it's better, some days it's not. So in regards to this week's training, on Tuesday, it was actually a very good day. I mean, I handled 6 plates. So I use a 50-pound bar. So I like to squat because I like to give, because of my torn rotator cuff, I like to make sure that, and then plus I had an issue before where I didn't realize I was squatting uneven because I wasn't getting the bar center on my back. And this was years ago. So what I started to do is started to squat with a cambered bench bar because your shoulders automatically center with the cambered bar and makes you center. So I guaranteed I was center. And then when I started to use it, one of the things that I noticed with it is that if you leaned, it would throw the weights forward. And so what it did is it taught me to stay as upright as possible while I'm squatting so that I won't get my, the weights from the bar to be thrown forward. So it's interesting because, now I've been squatting with this bar now for years. And, so it's a 50-pound bar. All right. So when you put 6 plates on, it's actually 590, right? Instead of 585. So, and I squatted it the easiest I've ever squatted. I mean, I literally came down and blew it up as if it was 500 pounds, not even 600 pounds. All right. But when I did that, how fast I came up with that, it actually irritated my hip. And then so I'm doing some body weight box squats, trying to make sure everything's lined up when I go to my deadlifts. And so, as I mentioned before, my 3rd week in, I am going to start, taking 800 pounds out of the pins, which I did do again this week. So I did my normal lockouts up to 7 plates. I mean, I'm moving these weights so fast, up to 7 plates. I mean, even 7 plates, if you see how fast I'm moving this weight, I think you would be surprised. It's surprising me that I'm moving the weights this fast. So really nice set with the squat, but then it irritated my hip. So of course that makes you a little nervous. So I did set up the 800 in the pins with the Titan weight releasers. And so what I did is, I went a little wider. I want to, because I'm trying different things. Every time I do something, all right, I'm trying a different foot position. I'm trying a different width. So every time I do something, I'm trying a little different. So this time I'm a little wider than I did last time. And I brought it 1 pin position down in the rack to make sure I didn't get hung up in the rack. Like I did, the last time I tried it. No, but I lifted it out pretty easy. I was a little wider, because of my, tweaking my hip when I was squatting. I just took it down for a negative, but completely under control. Like I did the last time. I mean, 800 pounds is not a lot of weight. I mean, I'm literally so what I did is, so after I did that, took it down to the ground. Then I went into my shrugs, and I do grip work when I'm doing shrugs because I try to see what I can hold without doing a hook grip as far up as I can. And usually I get up to around 500, which I get it off the pins. but I can't really stand all the way up with it, but I usually can get it out of the pins. And I started bringing back my grippers in now because I got to make sure when I go to this meet that I can hold on to the weight. And just with the grip training I've been doing, I could still, with a 250-pound gripper, I was able to do 20 reps. When I was, done with my deadlift training on Tuesday. So like I said, squat, easy as ever squatted 6 plates. It felt like I squatted 500 instead of 600, or well, it's close to 600, 590. And then I took 800, took it down. That felt very good. Just was nervous again because I irritated my hip when I was squatting. But the weight's not that heavy. And then so what I did is I actually did some shrugs with 800. So, a couple reps, I'm not moving it very far, but I'm able to shrug it, you know. So, and then what I did is then I went up to 885 for my lockout. So what I do, like I said, because I'm in that shrug position, it's a bar just above your knee. What I'll do then is I'll just grab a weight like 885, and then I will stand up with it to where my body has full support of it. Then I will slowly set it into the pins. I do not drop it into the pins. All right. And then what I do then is we have, I don't know what to explain. So technically I'm not using pins when I do my deadlifts. So what happens is in our rack, these racks are actually custom made by Art. There's 2 of them that are up right now. There's a third one, but the gym took it down at one point in time, never put it back up. And so when you want to do normal squats, right, you got to have the uprights in there. And so these uprights are probably about this long, right? And so when I do my shrugs and stuff, I do them with those, right? What would normally you would set your regular bar in. I just bring it down lower to where I can actually do my shrugs. So that way I don't have to worry about bending those. And then, like I said, I set the bar down very gentle because I don't want to bend any bars. But it is fun to just grab 885, even though it's from a small position, just rip it up like it's nothing, hold on to it. I know my body can hold on to it because I've been doing it for a while now. And I set into the pins. All right. And then, I did my glute hams after that. And, I do we have a crunch machine. I use the crunch machine. I did some hip work, and that was pretty much it. So, but yeah, very happy with how everything went. So, and then on Friday this week, I did a really good attempt at 4 or 5 in the 2 board. So I skipped doing the 365. So I went all the way up to 295, which I pressed. 295 is not very heavy. But I do run into issues still, even though I've clothed the bench to help keep me from sliding. But sometimes when I go to adjust my shoulder, I slide down the bench. Nothing I can do about it. And I get frustrated, so I just have Art spot it off to me. But 295 is not heavy. And then I went to 4 or 5 for my board. I figured this is the end of my 3 weeks. It's just go for the gusto. And so I brought it down to my chest and I got it up pretty decent. Art just had to help me a little bit with the lockout, but it came off my chest. So I think I'm going to have that here pretty soon where I actually can say I've got my best board press with 4 or 5. So that would make me happy. So even back in the day, what was so funny when I tore my rotator cuff and then I ended up going into public accounting, so even though it really didn't impact my ability to squat or deadlift, and I could have kept going there, but for some reason I enjoy doing the upper body stuff more than I do the lower body stuff. And so when I couldn't bench, I just said, this sucks. And so even though, like I said, I'm not super great at it, it's still those exercises, are fun to do. So especially when you get, doing the bent row work. And so what I did, normally the weeks that I deadlift, so my bent row is not going to be as big in the weeks when I deadlift because my lower back's going to be tired by the time I go to do it on Friday. And for fun, I just went like 1 plate, 2 plate, 3 plates, 4 plates for the bent row. And what I did is I put more weight than I've ever bent row in my life. I put 545 pounds on the bar. All right, so that's 545 on each side and a quarter on each side. And I broke it out of the platform, because I like to do them off these little platforms that are about 5 inches off the ground, something like that. So, and I like to hold wider, right? So that when I go to do my bent rows, it engages my lats. I'm not actually doing a deadlift. And they actually work your hamstrings very well too, the position that I use for this stuff. So what it allows you to do is take it off the, when you have to deadlift off the floor before you actually have to do your bent row, to me, I think it's kind of dumb. So by me just putting it up five inches off the ground on these small platforms, it allows you to engage your lats, right? And it's not like you're using your legs, right? Because, when you're doing a bent row, you're not supposed to be, deadlift, because that can create momentum for you when you're coming off the floor to help you do it. So starting from that dead position, you know, and so I broke 545 off those platforms, and just for the feeling of it. So that was kind of interesting. So if I can bent row that, I'm going to be super happy, because back in the late 90s when I used to, you know, hear of stuff that was going on before YouTube came out, I heard of a guy who was doing some reps with 500. And he, at the time, that was very impressive. And now there's some guys, I've seen guys doing bent rows with 725. You know, that niche, God, I can't even pronounce his name. Ukrainian strongman. You know, I've seen him do bent rows with like 660 pounds. I know there's some very impressive people out there who can do bent rows, but for being an old drug-free guy, 550 I think is impressive. 495 for a triple for me is impressive. The fact I've ever been able to do that, I'm very happy. So I know my lower back strength is there. You know, we got the meet coming up on July 20th. It's actually going to time perfect. I have next week off, so you're not going to get anything from me next week. And I didn't do any assistant stuff this week, so I was happy. You see, when you get through, sometimes it's, you know, you can skip some of the assistant stuff when you get to your third week. If you know you've hit everything, you hit everything well. So, but I did do my inclines, you know, so I did do, you know, like I said, I did my normal work up to 295. Then I jumped right to 405 for the board press, which came off my chest. Art didn't have to help me that much to lock it out. Then I did, you know, 60-pound dumbbells, and I do a pretty high incline. And, you know, and that's where I do my reps. So even though I'm doing singles, you know, I told you I do reps on my assistant stuff. So, and then in Art will help me, you know, by coming under my elbows, help me do a couple extra reps, you know, when I do those dumbbell inclines. Then like I said, I went and did those bent rows, and that was it. You pretty much hit every muscle in your upper body when you do those. So yeah, so that's it. And so, you know, it's gonna be interesting how I time this out for the meet now, because we have the week off. Then I'm gonna be able to still come in and hit my big deadlift week, because what my goal is after the week off, when I come in, I want to do a lockout with 820. All right. So 820. See, right now, the biggest deadlift for a man over the age of 50 is Nick Best, 815, from what I can tell right now. From everything I've seen, I'm usually on YouTube. You know, I'm looking at everything, whether it's Strength Central, doesn't matter which one it is. I mean, there's all these compilation videos now, what everyone's lifting around the world. So I'm pretty good at catching them. So if someone did break the 815, I haven't heard about them. If someone did hear about them, just let me know in the comments of what you've seen. Because I remember Nick Best was talking about him or Andy Bolton wanting to bring that deadlift record up from 815. But then now, you know, Nick Best is retired. That doesn't mean from strongman. It doesn't mean he's still not lifting. Obviously, there's videos of him out there still lifting. And then you still have, you know, Mark Felix, who's, you know, one of the greatest deadlifters ever. So in strongman, right? So, and, you know, even though his age, he's still someone who could probably put up a big deadlift if he wants to. And, you know, and then there's a guy out in the UK, and I can't think of his name right now. I mean, he did a meet where he squatted, this is in his 50s. I think he was about 53 at the time. He squatted 715, bench 430, and deadlifted 810. All right. But then they pushed the vaccines on everybody. So I hope, you know, he didn't get injured from the vaccines. You know, that's one of the things that I'm starting to see. There's a lot of people now that are showing those injuries, and it's now, and they can't continue to be athletes anymore. And it's really sad. So hopefully he's okay, and hopefully he'll pop back in to do something. Hopefully he's just an injury, and maybe he'll be back. It sucks when you get injuries. Trust me, I've had so many of them. I mean, the list of the injuries, right? I could do a whole video on the different injuries I have to deal with in my life. But remember, be hydrated. If you're hydrated, that's going to significantly reduce the amount of injuries that you have. So anyway, so yeah, so John Maddox. So over the 3-week period here, you know, things are going well. So like I said, I'm starting to do negatives with 680, 600 now is feeling, I feel 590. So 6 plates, feeling very easy in the squat. I could have probably put up my biggest all-time squat this week if I wanted to. So I'm happy. So I think the training's going well. So I believe I'm going to easily do 800 at this meet. And so hopefully something won't happen to me in between. Anyways, that's my update for this week. I appreciate everybody who's come along for my journey here to deadlift 800 pounds. Like I said, I'm trying to teach you how to train like me. You don't have to be in the gym every week. And people, I don't understand why people want to sit there and overtrain and not get better and not think of there's options. Right? Like I said, when you take that week off, it just allows your mind to take a break. And that was the biggest thing for me is mentally, I can't hit heavyweight every week. All right. It's become stressful. And so when you get a chance to take that week off, and then when you come back, it allows your body to get rejuvenated in a way that's really hard to explain. All right. And your body's ready to go at it again. So at least for me, it's always worked for me. I've done it for years, won many national titles doing it. So anyways, everyone have yourself a great Father's Day weekend. See ya.